One. Hey, what is up, everyone? It is your friend Damien Howard here with another Village Talks podcast segment. So elated, y'all, that today I have my brother here in this space with me. I think the best podcast segments that I have had historically are the ones when I am bringing on people that I'm actually in partnership with. Dr. Darnell Leatherwood, who you all are going to meet in a moment, he and I are two of the board members that are stewarding and shepherding the My Brother's Keeper Chicago work that you all are going to learn more of in a moment. He is absolutely committed to the work of collective impact, people coming together, and that is what Village Talks is all about. Us hearing from those people who understand that we are stronger together and are
Mm.
going beyond the talk and actually putting, walk or actions, right, behind this idea of unity, togetherness, and bond and service to young people and families in the city of Chicago. So, Dr. Leatherwood, brother, if you could just, by way of just kind of us kicking this off, jump in there and introduce yourself. And a part of this introduction, what I would humbly ask for you to put in there, man, is just kind of some of those pieces of the educational experiences that you've had that has kind of gotten you to this point in your work.
Okay, well, Damien, thanks so much for having me. My name is Darnell Leatherwood, and I come from East St. Louis. 18 years of my life born and raised in the boogie, as some affectionately know it as. After, going through my youth and adolescence in East St. Louis and learning the skills that have helped me to be successful in other areas of endeavor as I got older, and we can talk about that in another conversation. I transitioned as the first person in my family, actually, to go to, I transitioned to University of Illinois at Champaign. So I was the first person in my family to go to college. And
Mm.
so there's an interesting story about that too, but you got to catch me on another episode. So I went to the University of Illinois at Champaign, where I majored in business management, and I double majored. I had concentrations in entrepreneurship and business process management, which is kind of like supply chain management.
Hmm.
Subsequent to finishing up my undergraduate degree, I transitioned to the University of Chicago, where I pursued a master's in the social sciences. I completed my master's and then it took a little gap in between doing the master's and PhD. And during that time, I actually started to teach.
Mm.
I was a teacher at two schools in Englewood in the city of Chicago, one elementary school and then one a high school. I was an assistant teacher at the elementary school, and then I became a part of administration, and I was the community action council representative through my community engagement position. And then when I became a teacher at the high school, I taught algebra one, I taught math. And
Mm.
so subsequent to those 2 years of going out there and being in the community, which actually changed my life, and I can talk about what that means as well. I started my PhD at the University of Chicago in social policy and social welfare at the Crown Family School. And so I completed that PhD a number of years ago. And since then, I've been very fortunate to find myself working in collaboration with some tremendous individuals across not only across the city, but across the world, the nation, the world. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how we can continue to collaborate to make sure that folks get what they need in order to be successful in life. So that's a little bit about me. I can answer any questions that folks got, as it concerns some of the other things I got going on. But if you got some more interest in what I got going on, hit me on LinkedIn and you'll see a little bit of what I got going based on uh, based on my post or whatever, and then also the highlights that I have about my education and what I'm involved in. But you can also hit me up offline, and you drop me a line, and I respond if I got the time.
I really love the value in these podcast segments because us only being a few minutes into the segment, there are pieces of your lived experience that you probably have shared with me at some point in time before,
Mhm.
but it was a refresher, it was a reminder. Even with you having business as a part of your undergrad experience, bro, I didn't remember that. And now so much of it makes sense. Your interest in entrepreneurialism, that literally is what you study or part of your studies as an undergrad. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but if I can have things my way, I would definitely have Gabby to study some type
Mhm.
of business, economics, or something along those lines. So that's why I'm like really like honing in on that, bro, because you're already one of the uncles in her village,
Ah,
right?
that's
So
right.
I'm
That's right.
like,
Family. That's right.
yes,
Yep.
I'm gonna need you to holler at my daughter. So
Absolutely.
one thing I know about you, brother, is that even after your doctorate, like you then pursued postdoc experiences. and
Yep.
you continue to be a very active participant in the realm of academia.
Yep.
So, can you just kind of share with us why there is such a value in your mind and in your heart on you individually? And maybe this is your thought and an aspiration you have for others, but you individually just kind of making sure that you stay in a seat of being educated, of being like sharpened as an academic.
This is a wonderful question. You know, it's serendipitous
Hmm.
because I never ever thought education was the only way for people to be successful. It was one of the reasons why I didn't want to study education. I'm an education scholar. I am.
Hmm.
I'm a quantitatively trained interdisciplinary social scientist, and I focus on education. But I never thought education was the only way. So I was kind of like, I don't want to do
Hmm.
education. I don't want to study education in and of itself as a means by which to, leverage that knowledge in order to see change for groups of individuals, and in particular, saying Black folks who have been disenfranchised and underserved historically in the United States.
Hmm.
And so, like, it just happened. You know what I'm saying? Like I was doing business
Hmm.
at the University of Illinois, and then they had a McNair Scholars program. This is a
Yeah.
trio program, right? And
Yeah.
they was like, "Hey, you get $750 or something." I don't know if it was twice or like once, but I was like, back in college, we was like 750. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm doing McNair. But when I did McNair, two things happened. The advisor that I was doing research as an undergraduate student. My advisor was in the School of Education. His name is Bill Trent. I never
Oh,
forget him. Big man, love him.
Professor
You
Trent.
know what I'm saying? He's
Professor
so
Span
humble.
was my advisor.
Yes,
Arthur
Span, right?
McMahon. Yep.
Anderson, right?
Yep.
These are the guys that shape people's lives. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Span went off and became a dean. I don't know where he at now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But
In Buffalo, New York. He's in Buffalo,
New
New
York.
York.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Shout out
Yeah.
to Span. Shout out
Yeah.
to Christmas Span. But Bill Trent was my advisor, and that's how I got exposed to education as a topic of inquiry.
Yeah.
And then I was working with a young man named Olani Pekun,
Mm,
right? He's my big brother in the game. And so Olani
mm,
Pekun was pursuing a PhD at the University of Illinois. And I was like, what's a PhD?
mm.
And when I saw that he was doing it as a Black man, you know what I'm saying? Half Nigerian, half, African American Black, you know what I mean? I just throw
Yeah.
that out there, so just put out there. He don't like to be told, but he's supposed to be like some kind of prince too. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know what it is.
That's what's up.
But I saw him, and immediately, because he was pursuing the PhD and he was Black like me, I was like, oh, I could do a PhD too then.
Mm,
I didn't know what it was, but when I was exposed to it and seeing who was doing it, I was like, oh, then that's something that's available to me.
mm,
So even though I went into the McNair program, I went for the money pretty much, right? If I'm keeping it
mhm,
100, I was exposed to these individuals that then put me on a trajectory to have particular kinds of experiences. And so subsequent to that, I'm sitting and I'm dating a young lady at the time, you know what I'm saying? I think she was my fiance by this time. No. She was going to be the fiance soon. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? We're going to stick together, right? Because I want to marry her, I was dating to marry her. And so she was like, I want to go to the University of Chicago for medical school.
mm,
She had gotten to the University of Chicago for undergrad, but her family couldn't afford to send her there. So, she ended up at the University of Illinois, Champaign, which was a blessing for me, right? Because this
mhm.
woman eventually became my wife, and then we had our two children. We're divorced now, but I still got love for her. You know, what I'm saying
Yeah.
she was my favorite person, and that was for a reason. And you don't just stop loving people because they don't treat you well.
Mm,
She didn't give me permission to love her, and
mm,
she's not going to take away my capacity to love her just because things didn't turn out the way that I might have hoped.
mm.
So keep that in mind, folks. I think that sometimes we too often give too much power to other people. With
Wow.
that being said, she wanted to go to the University of Chicago. So when I wrapped up my undergraduate degree, after actually doing 5 years, and that was for other reasons. Want the pledge. People
Yeah.
weren't on yard. You know what I'm saying? I was in the
Yeah.
Navy, so I had all these extra credits that didn't necessarily speak to my degree. I was in the
Mhm.
ROTC program. I I went off to the university. I applied to the University of Chicago because I was like, I want to be with my lady. So I got into the University of Chicago. I applied for a PhD in sociology.
Mm,
They deferred me, and I know now as a PhD that I wasn't necessarily prepared for that, but they deferred me to a master's program, and I went to the master's program, and it was in social science. But when I got there, I started to think about my own trajectory in life, and I was like, well, what is keeping people from not being mobile from communities that I come from?
mm,
Like I was successful academically, so what's going on here? And so I started thinking about questions that aligned with education topics. And then I started being mentored by individuals who were education scholars. Charles Payne, right? Eventually Morgan Bell Spencer, Stephen Runbush. So I won't say too much more here, Damien, but I think that they're transitioning there, and the University of Chicago not having a school of education,
Mm.
but they do have a committee on education, right? And the committee was made up of all these individuals who come from the disciplines, psychology, economics, right, sociology. I was able to get in my opinion, and then let me pause.
Mm.
I was able to get the best of the social sciences
Yeah.
while thinking about education related topics.
Mm.
And what really pushed me, the final push for me, was when I started my PhD, because I wanted to do, like I said, a PhD in sociology. I was going to work with Mario Small, who was the dean of social sciences division at the time, but he went back to Harvard, left me hanging. To be honest, he might see this. It is what it is. Yeah, I was just like, dang, you know what I'm saying? You just gonna leave me, brother,
Yeah.
not say nothing. You know what I'm
Hey, you
saying?
you
But
you should have packed up and went to Boston, bro, the
no, no,
Boston
no, no,
area.
no. You know, God got a plan. I had just had a baby and stuff like that,
Yep,
and it was
yep,
just
yep.
like, and I think he had to make some moves for some stuff, you know. And it was like, all right. So he went over there, and I was like, okay. I was out there for 2 years, and that's when I taught, and that changed. That was one of the first things because I was in it. I literally didn't have a job, but I had a baby,
Mm.
and I was like, oh,
Things
okay.
changed when you had that baby boy. Yeah,
I wanted to work every day,
yeah, yeah,
for the wife and for the baby, right?
yeah,
The wife first, but then
yeah,
I was like, I'm getting up, and so I went and I did a mentoring session. Well, I
yeah,
really talked to some kids at the elementary school I was telling you about in Englewood.
yeah,
I went to talk to a kid, and the lady that she came up to me, she was one of the administrators. She's like, and she was actually, I think she finished up her master's at the University of Chicago too. But we would, and I think that might be how we connected. And so I was there, and she was like, "Do you want to come here and work?"
mm,
And I was like, "I'm actually looking for work right now. You know what? I'll give it a shot." Fell into it. It wasn't number guy, just fell into it.
mm,
I did that work. Some racist stuff happened at that institution. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Some things
yeah,
happened. They had to offer me back my job though, because I keep a paper trail. Daddy taught me how to keep a paper trail. He said, keep a paper trail so they can't just do anything to you. So I kept a paper trail on what happened at that institution. That's another story for another podcast. But
yeah,
subsequent to that, I went off and I was looking for work, and I had this buddy named Sam Adams at the Urban Prep Academies.
yeah.
Right. And Sam was like,
Shout
hey
out to
man,
Urban Prep.
shout out to Urban Prep.
Yeah,
And he was like, hey man, you want to come through? We looking for some, some teachers. And I was like, well, I'm not trained as a teacher. I'm trained in business. He's like, well, the good thing, then I learned this subsequently. The good thing about a charter school is that some of the teachers can be non-certified.
yeah,
And I went off and taught Algebra 1 at that school in Englewood. And so for those 2 years after doing business and social science and being mentored by people who were in the space of education, I was doing the education thing.
hmm,
And so, of course, that becomes a part of your CV,
yeah,
right? And so I'm applying to PhD, and I get this fellowship. I get this Department of Education, Institute of Education Sciences fellowship, pre-doctoral fellowship, which paid. I got a fully funded offer to go to University of Chicago anyway. And
mm,
this is a note for anybody doing a PhD or looking to do a PhD. If you do not go to a school unless they give you a fully funded offer.
okay,
If they're looking to make you pay, go to a program that will pay you to
mm,
be there. And so that's what I was taught in my master's program, actually. And so I had a fully funded offer, but then I got this award, which actually paid me more money than what they were going to give me at the University of Chicago. But it made me think very specifically about education because it was from the Department of Education, Institute of Education Sciences. So, Damien, long story short, it I didn't plan on education.
yeah,
I never thought it was the only answer to the success of a people. Education sort of happened.
yeah.
And at this point, since finishing the PhD, going back to one of the questions you asked, I know I'm eating up time like nobody's business.
It's all good.
Um,
You
I
you my
did
brother, so you can do this.
subsequent to finishing the PhD. Um, I went off and I became an assistant professor, a visiting assistant professor at St. Louis University in their School of Education.
Hmm.
I went off and became a senior quantitative research fellow at Rutgers University, and this was for Center for Metropolitan Studies, right? After that, I went um, and that was a little bit of a hiatus because the job that Rutgers was actually distracting me from my children.
Mm,
It was distracting me. It was so much data that I was crunching because we were working with the department, the New Jersey Department of Education. That there would be times where I have so many screens available. I mean, available up that when my kids would come to me, I couldn't take my eyes off the screens literally because I would lose my place.
yeah.
And it happened twice. My oldest came to me. He was like, "Dad, I want to tell you something, or I want to show you something. And I was like, I need you to sit down. That first time it happened, it registered, but I was like, okay. The second time it happened, I was like, okay, I can't do this job anymore.
Mm.
And so when they wanted to renew my contract, I told them no, even though I had, favorable relationships, and I was actually out of work for a number of months. I was out of work. And what happened after that was another big bump in my trajectory, which was me transitioning. I became a National Institutes of Health postdoctoral fellow
Yeah.
at Johns Hopkins University.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I transitioned to my current role that I have, which is being a president's postdoctoral fellow at the University of Michigan, which when I got the fellowship, not only was the University of Michigan the top school, not only did they have the top school of education in the country,
Yeah.
at the time, I was the first person in the history of the award, to ever get it in the School of Education, because it was an award that was across different departments: engineering, social work, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was the first person to ever get this award in education. So I say that to say, education, I did not plan on it,
Yeah.
but it happened. So
And basically, all that to say that you smart.
ah,
Like you, all of these presidential posts, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. We
that's
need
hilarious.
scholars. You know it with the work that you and I do together, right? For that ability for us to be super intentional and thoughtful for what really does it look like to make collective impact go beyond a statement and aspirational to us actually doing it. Bro, like I thank God for all of those experiences that he took you through because you're helping us to really be mindful about how we're approaching this work. So I love
Mm.
it, bro. What's up with that neck piece? And I ask this question because there are several times I've been with you and I've heard people reference their appreciation for that piece.
Yeah.
Why do you wear that?
Man, my oldest friend, Eric Hilliard, what I'm
Mm,
saying? I don't know where he's at in the world right now. I think he's on a pilgrimage somewhere. Because
mm,
I watched him, he had a spiritual transition,
mm.
and he became what I feel like is a sage. It got to the point to where I feel like I was sitting at his feet when he used to cut my hair. He cold on the clippers. The coldest barber I ever had.
Mm.
Mr. Hempfield, he from East St. Louis too, but he up here in near the city, Chicago. You know what I'm saying? He pretty cold on the clippers too. He pretty close. But Eric was the coldest barber I ever. So I was sitting with my oldest friend. We've been friends since kindergarten.
Mm.
Um, I would sit with him and I was getting haircuts from him. He cut my son's hair, my oldest son's hair. He gave me his first haircut. It was a big deal for me and my family, for me in particular. Eric, he used to make these pieces by hand, not this piece, because this is from somewhere else. And I just started to fall in love with these pieces. He would use these natural stones, these minerals and stones and stuff like that. And he would make these beautiful pieces. And I got a few pieces from him. There's one piece that he made that he threw away because he said he felt like he was looking at it and it was becoming not an idol, but like he was like fixated on it.
Mm.
And he was like, he threw it away. And he was like, I can't, I don't want the works of my hand to become, things that I don't want the vanity of it. And you know what I'm saying? I don't want to
Mm.
use idol. But anyway, I
Mm.
wanted to go to the trash can to get that piece out because that mug was
Yeah.
like, I couldn't afford it because I wanted to pay my boy. But I'm like, if you're going to throw it away, you could have just gave it to me.
Yeah.
But then sometimes
Absolutely.
you don't know if it's a spirit on it too. He might
Oh
have got
wow.
rid of, you never know. But anyway, um, I got really interested in these pieces. And so when I've been looking for a piece. I have been looking for a piece where I had a necklace that had round balls on them.
Mm.
I watch a lot of anime, you know what I'm saying? So you might,
Yeah.
if you watch anime, you know that you got some of the guys, the heavy hitters, they wear these big necklaces with these balls on them, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I was
Yeah.
looking for a piece that wasn't, ridiculous, that they make me look like I was, a clown, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I went to the World Education Research Association in Brazil
Mm.
last year. Yeah. And so while I was there, they had vendors, right, at the World Education Research Association. And one person was selling these necklaces.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the piece, I was like, oh, I've been looking for a piece similar to that. I actually have two of these. I got one that's just, straight, that's more like just the balls kind of like connected. And then
Mm-hmm.
this piece is broken up a little bit. But the ladies told me when I was buying it, they was like, oh, this piece looks better because it's a little longer, it hangs a little lower. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get both of it. So I bought both of these pieces in Brazil. And
Okay.
what these nuts are, I was told, well, we had to have it translated because the lady, she spoke Portuguese.
Yeah.
And so um, these were from the Amazon. And so it takes about 7 years for these nuts to grow. And then after 7 years, they take the pieces and then they prepare them for jewelry. And so that's the story I've been told. Some folks think they're Buckeye.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Especially the Ohio State guys.
Oh
Shout out
yeah.
to Brandon Pope. You know what I'm saying? And Brandon
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
hey, you know, I'm from Ohio State. You got some Buckeye stuff on? Like, no, dog, I'm from U of I, so we ain't gonna do that. You know
Yeah,
what I
right. We
mean?
not at all. Not at all.
But that's the story behind that. This is from Brazil, and this is a piece that I have been looking for that reflects some of my exposure to content that I think is really kind of cool, which is, you know, anime, to be honest. So yeah.
I want to get into some of the, again, collective impact, village oriented type of work that you have your hands on, and really specifically hone in on just kind of your executive leadership role with MBK Chicago. But before we get there, very kind of like succinctly here, your favorite anime character and why?
My favorite anime is
Yeah.
Luffy.
Is who?
One Piece, One Piece. One Piece is the favorite anime.
Okay.
My favorite character.
You said I love them all, huh?
Yeah, it's tough, bro. Like I think I have a prototype,
Okay.
so I can say that, and I say this succinctly. Um, it's generally the protagonist,
Mm,
but it's more because like most animes that I watch, because they have a lot of different, like they coming out
mm,
with so many different animes, and you have some that are dramas now, and I was like, okay, I like the like fantasy action ones. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
They always searching for something,
mm.
like either to be the greatest, or you know they're looking for something that like somebody hasn't obtained for a long time. You know what I'm saying? They got this goal.
Yeah.
If it's Naruto, if it's Luffy, if it's Goku, Goku just wants to be the strongest. He just want to be strong. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Naruto, you know what I'm saying? He wants to be the Hokage. You know what I'm saying? The leader of his village. Luffy wants to be the king of the pirates. And it just registers with me. You know what I'm saying? It's like
What are you searching for?
I want to do God's will in my life.
Mm.
That's my. It's just no
What's your perception of what you believe his will is for
God's
you uniquely right now?
the purpose that God has put on my life is to help other people live their best lives.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a servant in that regard, and so I I'm called to help people live their best lives. And one of the things I think that aligns with that is me being in a position of power,
Yeah.
decision making power, authority, having resource, so that I can do things on behalf or in favor of folks, so that they can get the kind of outcomes that they're looking for. I
Yeah.
use a lot of right before as I build my wealth and stuff like that. I use a lot of my time right now. It's like people talk to me, and it's like I would give whatever God deposits in me. That's what I'm giving to them. It's like you know, so you got questions about this. Oh, you got questions about your money. You got questions about this lady that you're kicking it with. You might have some questions about sex. Might be a question about, you know, it could be anything. And it's like, okay, well, God has given me this particular insight, this knowledge, or this wisdom. And let me pass it along to you. But what I'm also hoping to do at this particular point in my life is also cultivate my decision making power
Mm.
and then my resource. How do I get into a place so when I can say yes on this, and then that changes somebody's life potentially?
Mm.
Or, you know, I can say, here you go, pay that mortgage off.
Mm.
That's where I'm looking to get to at this point. And
Yeah.
so I'm called to help people live their best lives. And my what parallels that is this notion of building my capacity so that I can be in the best position to help others as they continue to move forward. I'm already called to be great.
Hmm.
I'm going to be great without anybody's permission. I don't need any pats on the back. I don't need anybody to tell me I'm doing a good job. I was born this way. And God confirmed that in me when I was around 10 years old. And I don't say that with hubris. I said it because I'm talking to Damien Howard.
Yeah,
When
yeah, yeah.
you say
Your
that,
boy. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And I know they just may go, but it's
Yeah.
not hubris. And so that arch, you know, that the archetype, the prototype,
Yeah.
the folks, just to line it back to the question, and that wasn't as succinct as I could have been, I guess.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's the notion that like they're going for something.
Yeah.
And Damien, this happened to me. And I realized that, like, my grandmama said something to me a long time ago. She said, "Baby, you're not gonna work a 9 to 5."
Mm.
What? I didn't know what she was talking about. I was a kid. She's
And you
like,
like everybody else working at, what are you talking? What's the other options?
what's the other options? And I didn't know what she meant, but what she meant was that
Yeah.
I was gonna be free.
Yeah.
That's what she meant, Damien. She meant I was gonna be free. And this happened. I got a big sister. I won't call her name. Well, I mean, I could because she is the homie. Um, but you know, she told me she came to my house and we were sitting on my deck. And she had did all these amazing things, man. Real talk, like straight up amazing things I was looking to do.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about the bag. I'm gonna get the bag. I'm about to get this. I want to get the bag. I want to get the bag. She said, "Hold on, baby." She didn't say baby. She said, "Hold on, Darnell."
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, "You talking about getting the bag? Like, I'm getting the bag, but I want what you got."
Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You are free.
Hmm.
I'm getting. I got the bag, but I'm not free." She said,
Right.
"A lot of people think that getting the bag makes them free." She said, "You already free." She said, "You do what you want when you get ready, don't you?" I was
Hmm.
like, "I do." And she was like, "You talking about getting the bag. But see, for me, now it helps shift my perspective. The bag ain't for me."
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, I stopped there. But somebody, the ideal, the character that resonates with me the most is the one that's chasing the greatness in themselves, and and the highest level that they can potentially accomplish. I want it all. I want it all. Why not?
Why not? Why not? I done messed around and got you started. What's up? Why
I'm
not?
just saying, man. People live, and people.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to me because I'm like, folks be mad and stuff. Oh, complaining. Oh, my life sucks. This, that, and the other. It's like you play a role in that,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
people don't want to talk about that. It's like
Yeah.
your context is a byproduct of what you're doing.
Mm.
It's a byproduct. It doesn't mean my life is perfect and I always got it right. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, I'm divorced. that was not something I felt was honorable. I didn't feel proud of that. But I was
Right.
able to use it to become a better man,
Right.
as strength, because I understand, because I work out. Resistance gives me an opportunity to get stronger
Mm.
if I don't overdo it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do I take what I got and use it to produce something good? But you can only get back what you put in. And so, so many folks out here been struggling, bro, and suffering and complaining, man, and depressed and all those others. And it's like you can do something about your situation if you just make up your mind to do something.
Mm. Mm. I love that. You know, when you said getting the bag is about other people, it reminds me of one of our other board members, Kareem Quo Wells,
Mhm.
and he sometimes refers to himself as kind of like a Robin Hood of sorts,
Yep.
whereas his whole thing is to leverage a lot of his relationships to
Yep.
make sure that he is bringing in resources to serve and support others. And I think when you look across the board with this assembly of men who are, like I say, shepherding and stewarding the MBK Chicago work on the board level. To some extent, we are all wired like that. So, talking about it being a God thing, I think it's a real God thing that we've brought together because there's a kindredness of spirit as it pertains to how we approach this work. So, with that, I would love for you to just let the folks know, any of our viewing audience, what is this MBK stuff all about and why are you excited about it?
MBK Chicago. I mean, MBK in general. I'm not sure how much Damien background information folks have on MBK.
Let's just assume this is all brand new, and we're trekking towards the end of kind of working towards landing the plane. But I definitely want to give you space and opportunity to get into this conversation, whatever it is you want to share.
Yeah, so MBK Chicago, My Brother's Keeper, was established by President Barack Obama in 2014 by presidential memorandum, after the murder of Trayvon Martin. Um, since then, there have been a number of communities across the nation. Initially, there were about 250 communities, I believe, who made a commitment to, providing access and opportunity for boys and young men of color in in their specific geographic regions. So since 2014, and the president, he left office, that My Brother's Keeper initiative transitioned into the Obama Foundation as a program, as one of the few programs that they have. And so MBK is still doing this thing, and because of that, we have a number of communities that are still coming up, propping up, being propped up across the nation, from time to time. MBK Chicago was established in 2017 or 18, one or two. I was one of the founding members that was brought in to do the work, with the action team, but it was in 2018, I feel like, but I can't remember the exact details. And that was under the tremendous leadership of Christopher Goins. Um, and with that, MBK Chicago has been deputized pretty much. It's established in order to see population level change for boys and young men of color in the city of Chicago. That's the work. The ideal here, we're the only. Now, this is something that just came up recently. We were talking with our coach through the Obama Foundation, Leslie, and we're the only community in the nation, the only MBK Chicago community that has a collective impact model. What this means is that, unlike other communities, which are generally nested within government agencies, a mayor's office, the Department of Education, something like that, right? Which means that they're funded and staffed. Let's just say that. We have a collective impact model here in Chicago where we bring together what we call a collective table. We bring together all these stakeholders who are engaging or interacting with young people, youth and young adults, right, in the city. And we coordinate our efforts around a shared goal. There are 6 milestones that are associated with population level change that have been established by MBK. Okay. Those 6 milestones are kids entering school ready to learn, kids reading on grade level by third grade, kids graduating from high school, graduating from college or a trade, being gainfully employed, and then being safe from violent crime, and then also having a second chance. That's a twofer. You know, this number 6 is like a twofer. We as a city and as a collective, all of these organizations at this particular moment, there are about 477 organizations who are associated or affiliated with MBK Chicago, who are MBK Chicago. We have decided as a collective, excuse me, we have decided as a collective that we're going to focus on milestone 6 to begin. The hope will be that we will be able to do all of the milestones, and we will, but we start with one. And so as a collective, we've come together and we decided that milestone 6, keeping youth safe from violent crime and then also providing second chances, right, for youth who have been exposed to the justice system. That's where we're going to work. And the ideal is that unique individuals and organizations, as members and as a part of MBK Chicago, will contribute to a strategic plan that actually sees population level change for boys and young men of color in the city of Chicago on milestone 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah.
yeah, so what are you most excited about as it pertains to any recent developments towards that end, namely population level change?
What am I most excited about?
Yeah.
I'm most excited about the opportunity to actually do something that's going to make a difference for kids.
Yeah.
I think we will win the Nobel Peace Prize for this work.
Mm.
Um, I'm very confident about that. Um, I think we will become power brokers, not only in the city of Chicago, but then nationally,
Mm.
as it concerns resource and access and opportunity. It's happening organically. We're talking to different people. We're building relationships. We're establishing the partnerships. The big dollars know who we are, and we know who they are. And we're in constant conversation with these folks. Philanthropy in particular, because grants can be interesting, because they're really kind of restrictive. And I
Yeah.
talk about that on both the academic and the community side, the civic side. But I'm also excited about doing something for kids. But I'm also excited about the potential of it all. The Nobel Peace Prize is not for the accolade. It's for I'm excited because it could be a reflection of what we actually accomplished, like what we did. That's all. I think it just reflects in some part, because it's not the be all end all, but in some part it just reflects that we did something that made a difference in the lives of young people, that kept them safe, that changed, that maybe impacted or shifted a particular trajectory that might have been a reality under other circumstances.
All of those things considered, in 10 years, how does Chicago look different and or how is Chicago impacted because this work exists?
Well, we won't be working on this anymore in 10 years.
Mm.
It won't be the same form. If anything, it would be providing activities and stuff, fun things for kids to do. But we would have solved the issue of violence in these communities for these kids.
Mm.
We would have solved, you know, this gun issue, right? Is one of the metrics that we're looking at. We won't have the same job in 10 years.
Mm.
In 10 years, we'll be providing a different kind of resource to the kids, and our babies will be growing. They'll be protected. Um, they will be doing what children are supposed to do.
On a political level, it seems like we are in a day and age where it's not as, I don't want to use the word sexy, but it's not as accepted to be doing things that are oriented towards one particular racial group. And let's even go further. We with this MBK stuff are talking about impacting boys and young men of color. Have you found that having a negative impact on the momentum that you think we can be having with MBK or any impact at all?
No, I think that, of course, there. or powers that are maybe warring at particular levels of this that I
Mm,
may not be privy to.
mm,
And then there are some things that I am privy to.
yeah.
Um, I've seen the actual impact of this on people in real life in real time. Um, but no, like I said earlier about saying about loving somebody,
Yeah.
we don't need permission. I
Okay.
used to ask my students all the time, what are you willing to die for? Now I ask, what are you willing to live for?
Mm,
And I think we just have to be brave enough to say these are things that we care about. This is the line in the sand. And it's not, and I say this all the time, it's not about being exclusive.
yeah.
Black folks in particular, I can talk about black folks. We talk about boys and women of color, but I can talk about black folks have, historically been very inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been other folks that's, what I'm saying, that's been on a, let's create this
Mm,
division. And so to answer your question, because I know we're wrapping up here, I'm free and I do what I want when I get ready. And what I want to do is what God has called me to do. And what he's called me to do is to help young people and people in general live their best lives. And I'm willing to die, but even more than that, I'm willing to live for
willing
that.
to live, willing to live, willing to
I'm willing to live
live.
for that. I'm
So
willing to live for that.
that being said, I have something that I ask each and all of my guests. I'm going to equip you in your imagination space right now with the magic wand. Use that magic wand. What are you going to point that thing towards that really helps to execute some part of your vision or your dream? Really, what I'm asking for right now is that you're going to wield that thing and use that thing for what type of change in the earth?
I don't want that power.
Mm,
Um, I'm what I'm going to do is I'm going to yield that power to the almighty plan of the Most High.
mm,
And whatever his plan is, that's what I want to execute on. And so I yield the power to make that kind of decision or determination to the Almighty. And and I just want to be positioned and postured to do what he would have for me to do based on his master plan. Because as smart as I may be, and I say that, humbly, and as
yeah.
strong as I may be, and I say that with a little bit of, because I
Yeah.
work here, you know
Okay.
what I'm
I see
saying?
you. No,
You
we
know,
see how that shirt fitting for real.
ah,
We can keep
There ain't
going.
no guy, but it's called, I've learned over the years, man. I make plans, Damien, and
Yeah.
I used to. I made plans, and I realized that my plans don't ever work out the way I want them to.
Mm,
But when I learned to lean and trust in God, I realized that it will always be above anything I could ever even imagine. Going back to your how you
yeah.
even set this up,
Yeah.
and so I won't leave it to my imagination. What I leave it to is God's will for what he would have happen in the earth. And if I could be postured in position to do what he would have for me to do,
Mm,
I'm pretty, I say this quickly. I know it had to be somewhat challenging for Jesus Christ to go up on the cross. But without the cross, there was no getting up without power. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so, like,
That's that resistance you talked about earlier.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It all pays. I know I go all over the place with these conversations, but it
Yeah.
all works together. You know what I'm saying? So that's my answer to that. I don't want the wand. The wand is my body, my capacity, my strength based on what I've been given. You know what I'm saying? My weakness. How do I show up and do with what I have control over and because the only thing I control is me, to be honest.
Right.
How do I take this thing and actualize as best I can the will that God has for my life and and his master plan for the world? So that's what I got. I know it may sound ambiguous, but I trust it. I'm better. My life has been. I'm extraordinarily blessed, and I am free.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. The intent every time I do these Village Talk segments is twofold. One, I want there to be some form of education that people come getting a nugget that, if nothing else, reminds them of an action that they can take, a perspective that they can take, to your point, so that they can be better off because they've spent this 30 minutes with us. But then, secondly, just in a real way, some inspiration, brother. So that's how why I invited you because I know when you get to a point where you feel free, and I know we're going to feel free with your boy because, like I said, we're brothers. It's
Yeah.
just like there is an energy that's exuded from you that I think has no choice but to resonate with folks if they got a post, right? So I'm glad that we accomplished both of those things. This is Village Talks. To my guest and audience, and your guest and audience, because it's going to be shared on your space as well. We know that we accomplished what we were supposed to here, and these are my parting words. However, I don't have the final word. Dr. Darnell Leatherwood, I want to give you space to give the final word. If there is a thought, an inspiration, a nugget that comes to your mind that you would want to leave our viewing audience with, our village with, you have the floor.
Well, I'll say this. Remember the name Damien Howard.
Mm,
The world is made up of people. All these histories that we've written down were written down by people. All these institutions that we've ever built were built by people. And sometimes, things they get prestige and character and all this other, they pick up um, some identity
mm,
as time goes along. But I'm reminded that it was just people doing the work, showing up, being them, and that's what really set the foundation for what would be, these realities. And so I just encourage you all as you listen to Damien and you learn from him
mm,
and you grow with him, to understand that he has a particular role to play in the world,
mm.
and it's better to be attached to something good and to the thing that's going somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Than to be left out there alone and to not have any direction or the right resource to do what you've been called to do. Damien is called to do something. He's a mighty man,
Mm.
and as much as you can get from him and learn, I'm just hopeful that what I'm saying, not only in this episode but every episode that he puts out, if you get opportunity to write him, if you get opportunity to support him, what I'm saying, throw some money his way, even though he don't need your money. But it could help because we pulling the money together for resource because we got
Yep,
things that we need to do.
yep,
And there are people who are destined to be decision makers.
yep.
There are leaders. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't forget the name. Don't forget the name. Remember the name. Take it with you. Because if you do, it may help you get to some place that you might not have imagined prior. So, yeah. I'm
Well,
glad to be able to do this, Damien. I'm glad to be a part of it.
I appreciate you as my brother. It's nothing that I'm going to add or take from that. So, with that, I just want to say peace out to all of our viewers and listeners today.